He didn't marry his mistress out of love. He chose her out of urgency, because his board whispered, because his legacy was empty, because the woman he loved disappeared without a word. So he signed a contract with someone else. But what he never expected was that the woman he lost would return with a child that looked exactly like him. What would you do if the person you loved walked away and years later returned with your child? Have you ever watched someone replace you while holding the truth in silence? This isn't a story about revenge. It's a story about what happens when power replaces love, and love quietly comes back. Would you still choose the future they once walked away from, or the lie you built to survive? If you've ever believed that silence can protect what words destroy, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Mr. Charles Stories, and this is the beginning of everything. Keir Danforth didn't believe in second chances. He believed in order, control, public image. Romance? That was for dreamers, people who didn't have empires to run or legacies to protect, for people who hadn't been left without explanation by the one woman who made them feel something real. Calla Valen. Her name lived in the part of him he never spoke about. She had vanished without a trace. No scandal, no final fight, just silence, like a door quietly shut in the middle of the night. For 18 months, Keir buried the pain. He didn't search for answers. He focused on numbers, board votes, quarterly power plays, because emotions were unprofitable. They didn't multiply assets. They didn't calm shareholders. But whispers began, at boardroom lunches, in corridor side-eyes. No heir, no contingency, no son, no succession. Legacy mattered more than love in his world. So he made a move, not out of passion, but necessity. He chose Ryan Vale, model, business school alum, smooth, socially skilled. She had presence, and more importantly, she had ambition. Ryan had always wanted to matter more than a side piece, and Keir offered her a deal no one else ever had, a legal agreement, clinical, contracted. In exchange for bearing his child, she would get a penthouse in Tribeca, a seat on a future trust monthly deposit secured through Danforth Holdings, full medical coverage, elite care, and long-term protection. They shook hands like business partners. No rings, no vows, just mutual elevation. Ryan smiled when she signed it. Keir didn't. Later that night, in his penthouse office, he stood over the skyline of Manhattan. He could see the glow of the Charity Tower across the river. Next month's gala was being held there, the one for children's literacy, the one where he'd make his legacy known. He sipped his drink, expression blank. "You didn't want this," he said quietly, as if Calla could hear. "So I stopped waiting," but he didn't know. He never saw the letter. The next morning, Keir's personal attorney, Rolvan Grant, reviewed the final documents with him. "All clean," he said. "No grey areas. This will keep the board calm." Keir nodded. "Keep it airtight." Rolvan hesitated. "You sure about this?" Keir didn't look up from his laptop. "I'm not in the mood to miss the future because I'm mourning the past." "She didn't reject you, Keir. She left. Maybe she tried to tell you something and you missed it." Keir glanced up. "We're done talking about her." And that was it. That afternoon, Keir attended a pre-gala planning session. Ryan sat beside him, smiling as photographers took subtle snaps. She touched his arm. He didn't flinch, but he didn't return it either. Across the room, board member Rhys Tolvan leaned over to another executive and muttered, "At least he's handling it." About time. Handling it. That's what they called replacing someone. That night, alone again in his office, Keir opened a drawer looking for an old prototype sketch. Instead, he found a sealed envelope under a stack of reports. No label, no return, just his name, written in handwriting he hadn't seen in months. His chest stilled. He stared at it, didn't move, didn't touch it. Instead, he closed the drawer and went back to work. Keir remembered the first time he saw Calla in Milan. Not on a red carpet, not at a boardroom mixer, but at a psychology innovation summit he hadn't wanted to attend. He was there as a sponsor, forced into the role by his firm's philanthropic division. He expected small talk, statistics, and sterile pitches. Instead, he watched a woman walk onto the stage with no notes, no slides, and no performance. She talked about children, specifically what silence did to them. "They don't remember what you said," Calla had told the room. "They remember what you ignored." Keir didn't blink. Something in her voice chipped at him. When she left the stage, he followed. They had lunch at a street cafe far from the marble hotel where the rest of the speakers stayed. She didn't ask about his money. She didn't even know his name until he mentioned it, and she didn't care. "It must be exhausting," she said, stirring her espresso, "to always be looked at and never seen." He hadn't said a word in response, but for the first time in a long time, he felt visible. They were together for almost a year after that. Private, quiet, real. No press, no gala photos, no Instagram soft launches, just mornings in oversized sweaters and nights debating moral philosophy. She grounded him. She didn't flinch when he went cold. She didn't melt when he opened up. She stayed, until he stopped looking at her, until the pressure returned. Keir's mother was the first to comment. At a winter fundraiser, she leaned in and whispered, "She's pleasant, but she won't elevate you. She grounds me," Keir had said. His mother offered a tight smile. "That's what anchors do too. They sink ships." Board members echoed similar ideas. You need someone visible, a woman who speaks numbers, a name that rounds out the Danforth brand. Calla didn't fit the mold. She didn't care about image. She cared about intention. The distance started small. One missed date, a dinner Keir forgot, a conversation he didn't listen to. Then came the skipped appointment, the one where she waited 3 hours at a fertility consult he promised to attend. She didn't text to ask why. She went home and packed instead. Not everything, just enough. Enough to leave quietly. She left the letter on his desk the next morning. It sat next to a financial report he never finished reading, and it disappeared under weeks of mergers, meetings, and Ryan. Calla didn't return to her old apartment. She moved to Vermont under her cousin's name. A quiet place, quiet roads, one doctor, no PR. She raised their child with grace, alone. Keir remembered none of this the night before the gala. All he remembered was how Calla made him feel like he wasn't just a figurehead, and how he ruined that. 2 weeks before the gala, Ryan held his hand at a private sonogram appointment. He barely looked at the screen, but he signed the next legal installment without hesitation. She smiled at him. "You'll make a good father, you know." Keir didn't reply. He watched the machine print out a grainy black and white strip of a future he had no emotional connection to. Later that night, in his penthouse, he poured a drink and opened the drawer again. The letter was still there, still sealed. He lifted it for the first time, still didn't open it. He stared at the handwriting. Calla didn't use pens that smudged. She used fine points, controlled, elegant, quiet. Just like her. He set the letter down and went to bed, alone. Across the city, Calla brushed Kyle's curls behind his ears. She read him the same story she'd read every night for months, about a bird who thought he wasn't enough because he couldn't fly like the others. Kyle smiled at the ending, then asked, "Do I have a dad?" Calla paused. Her throat tightened. "You do," she said softly, "but he doesn't know how special you are yet." Kyle nodded, like it was the simplest truth in the world, then fell asleep. The next morning, Calla sat in front of the mirror and picked out the navy silk dress. It was modest, sharp, clean, not for attraction, but for clarity. She placed the letter into her handbag, folded, intact, unopened, and whispered to herself, "You don't need his apology. He needs your presence." She arrived at the gala with no invitation. She didn't need one. When truth walks into a room, it doesn't ask permission. And neither did she. If you've ever believed that silence speaks louder than betrayal, if you've ever watched someone replace you while ignoring what you gave, And if you believe that some truths will always find their way back, no matter how long it takes, leave a comment, like this video, and share it with someone who understands quiet heartbreak. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more narratives where power fades and dignity speaks louder. The pregnancy test turned positive on a Wednesday morning. The apartment was silent. The kind of silence that usually followed slammed doors or long fights. But this wasn't that. There had been no screaming, no ultimatums, just long pauses, missed glances, cold dinners left uneaten. Calla stood barefoot in the bathroom, still in one of Kia's old button-down shirts, staring at the second pink line like it was a sentence passed. But she didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She wrapped the test in tissue, folded it into a zip bag and placed it on the dresser, right where she used to leave love notes. Then she picked up a pen. The letter took 3 hours to write, not because she didn't know what to say, but because she wanted to say it with grace. She didn't want to punish him. She didn't want to beg. She didn't want her last words to be reactionary or laced with desperation. She just wanted him to know the truth. You stopped seeing me long before I stopped speaking. I wanted to tell you in person. I waited 3 nights. But every time I saw you, you were somewhere else. You weren't cruel. Just gone. I'm pregnant, Kia. I'm keeping it. I'm not asking for anything. I just didn't want you to find out from the wrong person. Or too late. She signed her name, folded it cleanly, and left it beside his planner. By the time Kia returned that evening, she was already gone. Her name removed from the apartment lease. Her drawers emptied. Her toothbrush missing from the marble sink. But the letter still there, right under the week's schedule. He never noticed it. Calla took the last train north. 3 hours of steel tracks and shifting lights. She didn't text anyone until she reached the Vermont town her cousin had suggested, a quiet, hillside neighborhood where no one cared about headlines or wealth or who you used to be. She checked into a small rental, 2 rooms, a working heater, a doctor, 10 minutes down the road. The next morning she registered under her full name, Calla Ivan Valen. No public affiliations, no emergency contact listed. She told the nurse, "It's just me." And that was enough. She got a job at the town library within a month, cataloging, organizing, running the story hour for toddlers. It paid little, but it paid steadily. And the kids? They brought something she hadn't felt in months, honest smiles. At night, she kept a small notebook on her nightstand and wrote letters she never sent, letters to her future child. Letters she didn't intend to read aloud, but wrote anyway. "Your father is brilliant, but blinded. He didn't leave us. He didn't even know we were here. That's why I left first." The months passed. She stopped looking at the headlines, stopped checking social media, stopped listening for his voice in commercials or interviews. She focused on vitamins, rest, and the slow rhythm of healing. But once, during her 3rd trimester, she sat outside the clinic while 2 women walked by, chatting about the city. "Kia Danforth," one of them said. "Did you see him at that gala with Ryan Vale? She's glowing. They're calling it the Power Air era." Calla didn't flinch, but her chest ached the rest of the day. Not from jealousy. From confirmation. He'd moved on, publicly, visibly, without ever knowing what she'd carried. Kyle was born on a quiet Thursday morning. No drugs, no drama, just Calla, a nurse who held her hand, and a doctor who played soft jazz in the background like it was a private concert. Her son had full curls and a furrowed brow, like he was already processing the world. She held him to her chest and whispered, "We're going to be okay. I promise." She named him Kyle Even, her father's name as a middle, no last name yet. She didn't want him to carry one that hadn't been earned. The first year wasn't easy. There were late-night cries, daycare gaps, bills that came sooner than expected. But there was also Kyle's first laugh, his first word, book, his first time holding a crayon with his left hand. She sent a thank you card to the nurse who stayed with her for hours that night, never signed Ms. Danforth, just Calla. The world had reintroduced her to herself. And even if Keir never read her letter, she had written it. That was enough. On Kyle's second birthday, she lit a single candle on a small muffin and whispered, "You're everything I hoped he'd notice." Kyle blinked at the flame, clapped once, then poked the top. Kala laughed. She hadn't laughed like that in months. But something shifted in the fall. A gala announcement popped up on the library computer while she was ordering books for the children's section. There he was, Keir, in a black suit, beside Ryan, who looked heavily pregnant. The article headline, "Danforth Legacy to be revealed at Manhattan Literacy Gala." Kala stared at the photo, not in anger, not even in heartbreak, but clarity. She printed it, folded it, and placed it beside the letter, still sealed, still intact, in her bedside drawer. She didn't read the headline again, but she read the date. Kyle ran in with a paper crown made from colored tape. "Mom, I'm the king." She knelt down, smiled. "Then I guess I better introduce you." "To who?" She kissed his forehead. "You'll see." Keir sat in the back seat of a black SUV as it pulled up to the red carpet entrance of the Van Thorn Gala. Cameras lined both sides of the glass tunnel, flashes going off like silent fireworks. Beside him, Rianne Vale checked her reflection on her phone screen. Her lips were glossed. Her dress clung in all the right places. Her pregnant belly had become her latest accessory, proudly displayed, proudly photographed. "You ready?" she asked. He adjusted the cuffs of his suit. "I'm never not ready." They stepped out into the storm of lights, smiles polished, hands linked. The headline on the digital marquee behind them read, "The Danforth Legacy, one step closer." Inside, guests whispered. She locked it down. She's going to be the mother of his heir. Finally, the empire continues. Keir didn't react. He was used to attention. What he wasn't used to was how hollow it all felt. Every handshake, every smile, every fake congratulations. It echoed. He knew Ryan wasn't here for the mission. She was here for the title, the history books, the penthouse she now furnished without asking, the interviews she gave that made him sound soft, rebranded, matured by fatherhood. Keir had said nothing publicly, but silence gave permission. Weeks earlier, during a rare quiet night, Ryan had sat on the sectional scrolling through baby names. How about something strong? Renzo, Beckham, or maybe Kine? He looked up from his laptop. "No," she pouted. "You don't like anything I pick. I don't like things that sound rehearsed." Ryan exhaled. "This child is going to carry your name. The least you could do is act like you care how he sounds when the world hears him." He closed his laptop and went to bed. His apartment no longer felt like home. It felt like a press set, staged, perfectly curated for whoever walked in next. His books were rearranged, his clothes subtly replaced with more camera-friendly pieces. Ryan wasn't cruel. She was calculated. She knew which angles would get published. She knew how to cry on cue, just enough to make headlines, never enough to stain makeup. Keir watched it all, but didn't stop it, because somewhere deep down, he still believed he had no one else. Until the moment he found the letter, again, this time, not tucked beneath reports, but sitting in the tray he used for keycards and charger cables. He froze. He'd forgotten placing it there, forgotten how heavy it felt for something that barely weighed an ounce. He reached for it, then stopped. Not yet. 3 days before the gala, Ryan's team arranged a photo shoot in the penthouse. She posed in the nursery, sat on a chaise in a silk robe, placed a hand over her belly and whispered, "Smile," to herself before the camera snapped. Keir watched from the hallway. He didn't enter. He didn't comment. He went to his office, closed the door, and looked out at the city. Across that city, in a small walk-up with creaking floors and books stacked in corners, Kala pulled out the navy silk dress. It hadn't aged. She had, not visibly, not dramatically, but internally. She wasn't the woman who left a letter and walked away with a shaking heart. She was a mother now, a protector, a listener, and the child she protected looked more and more like the man she used to love. Kyle was already dressed, tan blazer, dark blue jeans, little leather shoes. He twirled once in the mirror. "You look amazing," Kala whispered, adjusting his collar. "Are we going to see him today?" She paused. "We're going to remind him of what? Of who we are." The train to Manhattan was quiet. Kala sat with Kyle nestled beside her, headphones over his ears, drawing shapes in a sketchbook. Every few minutes he glanced up at her, then back down. Not nervous, just steady. She admired that. He didn't know who his father was yet, but he knew who he was with her, and that was enough. At the charity gala, Keir stood in his tailored black suit near the stage, surrounded by executives, old money families, and the entire Danforth board. Ryan adjusted her gold gown and leaned toward the mic to whisper, "Let's make it memorable." Keir didn't nod. He didn't speak. He waited for the spotlight to hit, waited to make his speech, one rehearsed by his PR team but stripped of anything personal. But before he could step forward, the elevator doors at the back of the hall opened. It was almost silent. Until it wasn't. The soft click of heels on marble echoed as Kala stepped into view. Dressed in navy silk, no announcement, no entourage, only a small boy beside her, his hand in hers, his curls unmistakable. Keir froze. The room held its breath. Ryan's eyes narrowed. The audience turned. Kala kept walking. Not toward the cameras, not toward the press, but straight toward him. She stopped 6 feet away, bent to Kyle, whispered something. The boy stepped forward and held out a folded letter. Keir took it. The same letter, the one he never opened. Kala straightened, met his eyes, and spoke with calm. "I didn't come to disrupt. I came to return what you never asked for." She took Kyle's hand again and turned. No tears, no anger, just grace. The room exploded in whispers, flashes, and confusion. But Keir, he said nothing, because for the first time in a long time, he had no words, only weight, only shame, only one truth burning in his hand. The letter he never opened, now handed to him by the son he never knew he had. The moment Kala stepped into the marble foyer of the Van Thorn Tower, time thinned. Everything was gold and glass, the kind of architecture that tried to impress you before you even reached the first floor. People rushed past her, checking tablets, fixing ties, murmuring last-minute reminders to earpieces. No one stopped her. No one questioned her. She didn't need an invitation. She walked like she belonged, because she did. The navy silk dress whispered over her heels, but her grip on Kyle's hand never wavered. He stayed close, focused, not afraid. She'd taught him to walk into rooms with dignity, not noise. The elevator doors opened. They stepped in alone. She pressed the button for the main ballroom level. Kyle looked up. "You okay?" Her lips lifted slightly. "Are you?" He nodded, then tilted his head. "Do you think he'll know it's me?" Kala took a breath. "I think he'll know something." 35 floors up, the gala stretched in elegance, a luxury arena of silent deals and loud egos. Glasses clinked, smiles sparkled. The walls were draped in gold silk with deep navy uplighting to match the literacy theme. Books stood on display in glass cases, symbolic, untouched. At the front of the ballroom, a grand staircase spiraled from the elevator, landing down into the crowd. It was here that Kala paused, one hand resting lightly on the railing. Her eyes scanned the room. She didn't look for Keir first. She looked for cameras, for Ryan, for the people who would turn pain into entertainment if she misstepped. And then she saw him. Keir stood near the stage, motionless in a charcoal black suit, the spotlight grazing the top of his shoulders. Ryan stood beside him in gold, radiant, curated, her hand already half raised to take the mic. Kala stared at him, not with regret, but with knowing. He looked older, sharper around the jaw, darker under the eyes, but still him, Still the man who once stood behind her at a bookstore pretending not to watch her read aloud to a child. Still the man who once said, "You calm things in me I never learned to control." Still the man who never opened the letter. The room dimmed for the official presentation. Calla stepped forward. Kyle followed. The elevator behind them gave a soft chime, like it was blessing her timing. She didn't rush. She didn't look left or right. She walked down the stairs like she had done this 1,000 times in her mind. She had. The first person to notice her was one of Keir's board members, Rhys Tolvan. He squinted, shifted, then leaned toward another executive. Before the second man could reply, more heads turned. A rustle of whispers started from the outer edge of the ballroom. A murmur rippled inward. Keir turned and stopped breathing. He didn't move. He didn't blink. His eyes were locked on hers. Calla didn't flinch. She gave him nothing. No explanation, no apology, no plea. She simply nodded. Then bent to Kyle. She whispered, "Walk to him." Kyle nodded and let go of her hand. He took small, even steps toward the man he didn't know, but whose eyes matched his. Keir looked down as the boy stopped in front of him. Kyle reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the folded letter, and held it out. Keir took it without a word. Kyle turned and walked back. Calla met him halfway. The letter remained in Keir's hand, unopened, just as it had been the first time. Ryan's smile cracked. Her gaze darted to Keir, then to Calla, then to the child. She whispered sharply, "Who is that?" Keir didn't respond. She stepped closer. "Keir." He stepped away. The lights hit full beam on the stage, but he didn't move toward the microphone. He moved toward the edge of the platform, still watching Calla, still silent, still stunned. Calla stood just past the stairs, Kyle beside her, both calm amid the storm. She didn't step further. She didn't need to. Every eye was already on her, but not in the way she feared. No one whispered scandal. No one laughed. They watched with a kind of still reverence, because a woman had just walked into the richest room in the city, not to beg, not to expose, not to perform, but to return something. Something forgotten. Something once ignored. A truth in a child's hand. And she said only one thing: "I didn't come to disrupt. I came to return what you never asked for." She took Kyle's hand, turned, and walked toward the exit. Behind her, the ballroom stayed frozen. Keir's fingers curled around the letter. His pulse was loud in his ears. Everything around him, the crowd, the lights, Ryan's voice calling his name, blurred. Only one thing felt real. That letter, still sealed, still addressed in the handwriting he hadn't seen in nearly 3 years. He slowly looked down at it. The corner had been smoothed by time, but the message inside was fresh, and it demanded to be read. Back at the elevator, Kyle squeezed Calla's hand. "Did we do okay?" She bent and kissed his forehead. "We did what needed to be done." As the doors closed, one final flash from a photographer snapped. Kyle didn't see it. Calla did, but she didn't stop it. She let the world capture the moment if it dared, because this time, the truth was ready to be seen. The gala ended without a speech. Keir never touched the microphone. He never gestured, never explained. He just walked off the stage while the room fumbled through awkward applause and uncertain glances. Ryan followed after him, her heels hitting the marble in short, fast bursts. "Keir, what was that?" she snapped. He didn't turn. "Hey!" Her voice broke louder. "That was our moment." He stopped at the side hallway, eyes still forward. "Our moment?" he asked quietly. "Yes, you and me. Our son." He faced her. Something in his eyes chilled the space between them. "You mean the child you're carrying who hasn't even arrived yet, while the one who did just handed me the letter you pretended didn't exist?" Ryan's face flickered. "What are you talking about?" He held up the envelope. "I know this handwriting. I know her." He paused. "He has my eyes." Silence. That kind of silence that exposes people. Ryan didn't deny it. Instead, she said, "You think I knew? You think she told me? I've been here. I've carried this with you." "No," he said coldly. "You've carried it for yourself." She folded her arms. "Don't rewrite the deal. You didn't want emotional. You wanted efficient. And I gave you that." He shook his head once. "You gave me everything I thought I wanted, until I saw what I gave away." He turned and walked down the corridor. She didn't follow. Not that time. Keir didn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse office, lights dim, the city moving around him while he remained still. The letter sat on his desk again. This time, he looked at it for an hour before opening it. When he finally did, his hands trembled. "Keir, I'm not writing to shame you. I'm writing because I want this to be done with dignity. I'm pregnant. I know what that means in your world. I know what legacy means to you. I just couldn't stay in that space. Not with what it was becoming. You were already gone. You didn't push me out. You just stopped opening the door. This letter is my last try. I didn't leave because I didn't love you. I left because I couldn't raise a child where silence was louder than care. If you want to find us, I haven't hidden. I've simply stepped away." Calla. The letter slipped from his hand. He leaned forward and pressed both elbows to his desk. She hadn't taken anything from him. She had protected something he never knew he had. And now he was the man who stood on a stage talking about legacy, while the child who carried it walked out of his life. The next morning, his legal advisor called. "Public chatter is growing," Rulven said. "The footage got out. We need a statement." Keir didn't answer. "I can draft one," the man offered. "Confirming you didn't know about the child, expressing intent to connect, control the fallout." Keir finally spoke. "No statement, sir. No press, no correction, no denial, nothing." Rulven paused. "Then, what should I tell the board?" Keir stared out the window. "Tell them I'm reconsidering what legacy means." Ryan didn't move out. She held press interviews, claimed deep betrayal, painted herself as the victim of a blindsiding. She used soft words like miscommunication and sharp ones like abandonment. She never used Calla's name, but everyone knew. Online opinion shifted, not violently, not instantly. People remembered Calla's grace, her silence, her presence at the gala. They compared it to Ryan's designer sorrow and subtle brand plugs. Calla didn't clap back. She didn't even post. But someone leaked the photo, the one taken as she entered the elevator with Kyle. And the internet did the rest. She didn't come for drama. She came with her child. That's a mother. She didn't ask for anything. She just told the truth. Keir saw it all. But he didn't chase the narrative. He chased the truth. He found Calla's address the way most billionaires did, quietly and legally. He didn't send security. He didn't send flowers. He sent nothing. He simply booked a one-way ticket and showed up. It was a cold morning, the kind where breath fogs in front of you and boots stick slightly in the snow. He stood at her porch, coat buttoned, gloves in hand. He didn't knock. He waited. 5 minutes passed. Then the door opened. Calla stood in a grey cardigan, no makeup, eyes unreadable. She didn't smile, but she didn't close the door either. He spoke first. "Thank you for showing up. When I didn't." She studied him. "I didn't come to be seen. I came so you'd look." He nodded. "I read the letter." "I know." He cleared his throat. "Is he okay?" She leaned against the doorframe. "He's more than okay. I'd like to meet him. Really meet him." Her silence wasn't cruel. It was protective. "Start by seeing yourself first, Keir." She closed the door. Gently. Not to shut him out, but to tell him, this time, he'd have to do the work. The next time Keir came, he didn't wear a suit. He didn't bring flowers. Didn't call ahead. He just showed up on a Saturday morning with a scarf around his neck and snow in his hair, looking like a man who hadn't slept but finally knew where to go. Calla saw him through the front window of the small house she'd made into a home. She didn't rush to the door. She waited. She wanted to see what he'd do without an audience. He stayed still on the porch, hands out of his pockets, head up. He didn't knock. He didn't pace. He waited. Kyle peeked out from behind her and whispered, "It's him." Kala turned slightly. "What do you want to do?" The boy blinked, then walked to the door and opened it. Keir met his son's eyes. No prepared speech, no planned moment. He lowered himself to Kyle's height. "Hi," he said. Kyle tilted his head. "Are you cold?" "A little." Kyle nodded. "We have tea. Mom drinks the ginger one, but I don't like it. You want apple?" Keir smiled faintly. "I'd like that." Kala stood quietly by the hallway, arms crossed loosely. She watched Kyle lead Keir inside, not as a stranger, but not as a father either, as someone being interviewed for the role. They sat in the small kitchen with mismatched mugs and sunlight pouring through the half-fogged window. Keir looked around, absorbing the photos on the fridge, the crayon, drawings, the slightly chipped ceramic jar labeled library snacks. Kyle poured apple tea into Keir's cup, spilling a little. Keir grabbed a napkin and wiped the counter without a word. Kala noticed, so did Kyle. "You live in the tall house?" Kyle asked. Keir nodded. "Sometimes. Do you have toys there?" Keir paused. "Not yet." "I didn't know what you liked." Kyle shrugged. "I like maps. And trains." Keir nodded. "Okay, trains. Do you cook?" "I try." Kyle made a face. "What do you make?" "Scrambled eggs. Bad pancakes." Kyle grinned. "I like bad pancakes." Keir looked up at Kala. Their eyes held for a second. Then Kala turned away and began rinsing dishes. Over the next hour, nothing dramatic happened. No outbursts, no dramatic tears. Just a man learning his son's favorite snack, a boy asking quiet questions, and a mother who watched everything without interrupting. At the end of the visit, Kala walked Keir to the door. He stood with one hand on the frame. "I know I can't rush this," he said. "You're right. I want to be around. Not for the headlines, not for damage control." She folded her arms. "Then don't say it. Show it." He nodded, then looked down. "Can I come back next week?" She considered it, then opened the door wider. Every Saturday after that, Keir came, sometimes with books, once with a beginner train set, always alone. He stayed 2 hours, no longer, no less. He never stepped past the kitchen unless invited, never questioned her rules, never made promises he couldn't keep. Kala didn't trust him yet, but Kyle was laughing more. One weekend, Kyle fell asleep on Keir's shoulder while reading. Kala watched from the hallway. Keir didn't move, didn't speak. He sat there, still as the snowfall outside, letting the child breathe against him. After 10 minutes, Kala walked in and gently took Kyle into her arms. As she tucked him into bed, she paused, then whispered into the dark, "He looks up to you now. Don't give him reasons to look away." The next morning, Keir sent her a message. No demands, just 5 words. "What time is story hour?" Story hour started every Thursday at 4 p.m. The local library didn't have much. Old carpeting, a flickering lamp in the corner, and books patched together with tape. But the children loved it. They didn't need chandeliers. They needed voices that listened back. Kyle loved it most when his mom read. Kala had a way of making words sound like safety. That Thursday, Keir sat in the back, not hidden, not forward. He arrived 10 minutes early, wearing a clean dark sweater and jeans. No security, no driver, no trace of who he was in the city. He carried a book under his arm, The Little Engine That Could. Kala saw him walk in. She didn't smile, but she didn't stop him either. The other parents whispered, "That's him. The billionaire? Is that her son? Didn't he have a mistress?" Keir heard all of it. He didn't flinch. He sat on the carpet with Kyle and folded his legs slowly, like someone who hadn't sat on a rug in decades. Kyle offered him a crayon. "Draw." Keir hesitated, then took the crayon. He didn't draw perfectly, but he drew. A train, crooked wheels, flat lines. But Kyle nodded with approval. "It's got steam," he whispered. Calla glanced over once, then kept reading. After the story ended, kids ran around. Kyle pulled Keir toward the picture book section. "Wanna see my favorite?" Keir followed. Calla stacked books on a nearby cart, pretending not to watch. Kyle reached for a blue book with a rocket on the cover. "This one's about dreams," he said. "Even when people say no." Keir sat beside him on the floor. "Does the rocket make it?" Kyle shrugged. "It breaks a little, but it still goes." Keir swallowed, then looked at Calla, still shelving, still silent. Later, outside the library, a woman stopped them. A mother, local. "Excuse me," she said to Keir. "You're Danforth, right?" He nodded. She studied him, then looked at Kyle, then back at Keir. "I don't know what happened," she said. "But thank you for coming here, the real way." Then she walked off. Kyle tilted his head. "What'd she mean?" Keir exhaled slowly. "I think she meant she expected me to pretend." Kyle frowned. "But you didn't." "No." "Good." The next Saturday, Kyle wore a paper crown he made at school. When Keir walked in, Kyle pointed to him and declared, "That's my dad." Calla froze for half a second. Keir did too, but neither corrected him. Because sometimes a child sees the future before the adults earn it. Later that night, after Kyle had gone to bed, Keir lingered at the door. Calla followed him out onto the porch. The cold wrapped around them. Neither of them spoke for a long moment. Then Keir said, "It's harder than running a company." Calla glanced sideways. "What is?" "Being quiet enough to hear what a child says, without saying too much back." She smiled faintly. "You're learning." Keir looked at her. Really looked. "I miss who we were." She met his eyes fully. "I miss who I was too. But that version of me waited for someone who never showed up." He nodded once. "I don't want to fix the past." "Good," she said. "Because you can't. I want to show up for the future." She stepped back into the doorway. Didn't close it, but didn't invite him in either. Not yet. He stood there as the snow started again, and whispered to no one, "I'll be back." Keir sat across from his legal advisor in a quiet corner office, the kind reserved for conversations too personal for boardrooms. No press, no assistants, just him, a pen, and a man who'd known him since his 20s. Rolvan looked down at the open file. "This isn't a PR patch," he said flatly. "I know. If we do this, you're creating a legal footprint. That's not easy to reverse." "I don't want to reverse it." Rolvan watched him. "I'm not just talking about child acknowledgement," he added. "I'm talking about trust inheritance, paperwork, name rights. This isn't like signing a check. I understand. You're bringing a child into the family estate, into the spotlight." "No," Keir said. "I'm bringing him into the truth." Rolvan exhaled. "So you're sure?" Keir nodded. "Then I'll initiate a paternity test." Quietly, Keir folded his arms. "She already told me. You'll still need legal validation." Keir didn't flinch. "Do it respectfully." Back in Vermont, Calla sat on the porch with Kyle while he flipped through a book on train stations. He had drawn tiny arrows and scribbled words under each platform. She turned to a message on her phone. "Private legal request from Danforth Holdings Council. Request, voluntary, non-invasive paternity confirmation. Assurances, no publicity, no obligations, full privacy." She stared at it for a long time, then scrolled to the bottom. The sender's note read, "Your son deserves more than questions. Let's start with facts and silence." She read it twice and replied with one sentence, "We'll come in next Friday. No press, no pressuring." Kyle didn't ask why they were traveling. He liked the city now, only because it ended with pancakes and picture books at a brownstone, with sunlit windows and a man who listened to every answer like it mattered. He liked the silence Keir brought. Not cold silence, respectful silence. The clinic was sleek and discreet, No logos, no noise. Just white walls, soft chairs, and short wait times. Keir was already there when they arrived. He stood when Kyle walked in. "Hey," he said. Kyle ran to him like it was routine. Kala watched, then looked at the nurse. "Let's do it." The test was painless. A cheek swab. Kyle asked afterward, "Was that to see if I have allergies?" Kala paused. Keir answered first. "It helps us learn things about family, the way we match." Kyle nodded. "Like puzzles." "Exactly." He reached for Keir's hand. "You're my puzzle?" Keir froze, then smiled. "The best kind." Kala sat in the corner. She had no notes left to write, no more plans to make. She had done everything she could. Now, it was in their hands. Father and son. 2 days later, the results came in. Rulvan delivered the folder to Keir's desk personally. No leaks, no errors, no doubt. Keir opened the document, read the lines, folded it shut, said nothing. Rulvan waited, then finally asked, "Do you want to make an announcement?" "No." "You want to formalize the estate change?" "Not yet." "You want to notify Ryan?" Keir looked up. "No. I want to take my son to the library." Ryan Vale always knew how to read a shift in the air. She didn't need headlines to tell her when she was no longer the center. She could feel it, in the silence of missed calls, in how the doorman didn't stand quite as straight, in the way Keir began to disappear from the penthouse more often, without excuses, without returns. And then came the text from one of her usual gossip channel contacts. "Your man has a son." Just that. No context. She didn't believe it at first. But it wasn't long before more followed. Whispers, footage, a still from the gala slowed down and zoomed in on Kala and the child's face. That boy's eyes. They weren't familiar. They were undeniable. And Ryan knew. She stormed into Keir's office that evening without knocking. He was alone, reading Kyle's library card application. She snatched it from his desk. "This is real?" she demanded. Keir didn't rise. "He's my son." Her voice went sharp. "And I'm carrying your other one." He looked up, calm. "That doesn't make them competitors." She blinked. "I gave you everything. I followed the plan. Now she shows up with a kid and what? You forget the deal?" Keir's jaw tightened. "There's no deal worth ignoring your child." "He's not mine. He's mine." Ryan stepped back. "So, what am I now?" He stood. Free. The media didn't pick it up immediately, but Ryan made sure they would. She leaked a photo of her pregnancy bump alongside the caption, "Some children are planned. Some are inserted into lives without warning." The reaction was split. Some supported her. Some did not. But Kala? Kala said nothing. The local Vermont paper sent a reporter to the library the next week. He posed as a parent at story hour, snapped a few photos, tried to speak to Kala. She smiled, then said clearly, "We won't be part of any quote." She walked away holding Kyle's hand. The story never published, because the only thing quieter than scandal is a woman who refuses to feed it. But Keir did make one move, a small one, deliberate. One Saturday morning, instead of meeting Kyle at the house, he asked if Kala would walk with them to the city park. She hesitated. "I'm not press bait. You're his mother." Kyle pulled on her arm. "Please," she sighed, and went. The city wasn't loud that morning. It was overcast, calm, with scattered leaves on the sidewalks. They walked slowly, Kyle in the middle, swinging both their hands. They passed a playground, then a bookstore, then a breakfast cafe. The cafe had outdoor seating, and 2 journalists seated with cameras hidden in coffee mugs. Kala saw them immediately. She stopped, but Keir kept walking, and said to Kyle, "Want pancakes?" Kyle cheered. They sat outside, ordered blueberry. Keir poured syrup too fast. Kyle laughed. Kala wiped his mouth. And they stayed, for 2 hours, without comment, without performance, just presence. The next day, a photo surfaced. 3 people at a small cafe, a man feeding a boy, a woman watching both with quiet warmth. The caption read, "Legacy isn't in boardrooms, it's at breakfast." Keir didn't repost it, didn't comment, but he had it printed and placed in his office, right beside his framed first company stock certificate. Back in Vermont, Kala sat on her porch after Kyle went to bed. She opened her phone. Ryan had posted again, a reel this time. "She was the past, I'm the future. The empire grows through me." Kala didn't flinch. She put her phone down, then opened Kyle's drawing pad and added a note to the back page. "Noise doesn't build legacies. Stillness does. If you've ever carried the truth in silence, because speaking it wouldn't have been believed. If you've ever watched someone rewrite history while you held on to reality quietly, and if you believe that proof doesn't need volume, it just needs time, drop your thoughts in the comments. Like this video if you've ever stayed calm while the world tested your dignity, and subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more narratives where the quiet truth eventually speaks louder than everything else. The snow hadn't stopped since morning. Flakes drifted thick and slow over the street, covering rooftops in velvet silence. It was the kind of cold that made cars hesitate and power lines buzz faintly in the distance. Kala stood at the window, arms wrapped around herself. She watched the road out front like she had the night she left Keir's apartment. Back then, she waited for him to chase her. He never did. But this time, she wasn't waiting for anything, just watching. Then, she saw the headlights. One vehicle, no security, and when the car door opened, it was him. No driver, no assistant, just Keir, wearing a long coat, hands bare, breath visible. She didn't move, didn't open the door, but she didn't walk away either. Keir knocked once, soft, like he didn't expect an answer. Kala pulled the door open. He looked cold, but not desperate. Calm, clear-eyed. "I didn't come for tea," he said. She raised an eyebrow. "Then you came to freeze?" "No, I came to ask something I'm not entitled to." She opened the door wider, didn't speak. He stepped inside, stomping snow off his boots. Kyle was at the table, building a small city out of cardboard pieces and markers. "Hey," Keir said. Kyle looked up. "I made a bakery this time. Wanna see?" Keir smiled. "Definitely." While Kyle explained the layout, Kala poured hot water into a mug and handed it to Keir without a word. She didn't ask why he came. She knew he'd get to it. When Kyle went to bed, tired from stories and chocolate milk, Keir stayed, not on the porch, in the living room, sitting on the couch across from her, holding the mug she poured. Then he finally said it. "I'd like to stay here for a few days." Kala didn't blink. "Here?" "In Vermont. I got a rental down the road." She nodded once, still skeptical. "I'd like to take him to the park, walk him to school, be here without a schedule." She crossed her legs. "You're trying to learn what a weekend dad never could." He didn't argue. He just said, "Yes." Kala sat back. "He's not a PR fix, Keir. I know. He's not a legacy. He's a person. I see that now." She studied him. "What made you change your mind?" He exhaled. "My office doesn't feel like power anymore. It feels like absence." She didn't respond. He looked at her. "I've signed things my whole life. Checks, deals, contracts. But I never signed up for him. I never signed up for love. I thought control made me strong." He leaned forward. "But Kyle, he makes me want to stay still." Kala stood and walked to the window. She didn't cry, didn't sigh. She just said, "He'll expect you every day once you start." "I know. He won't take excuses. I won't give him any." She turned. "Then rent the place. But don't knock on this door unless you plan to be more than present. Be involved, be consistent, be calm, and never, ever use him to fix your image." Keir nodded, firm, quiet, then stood. "I'll text before coming tomorrow." She opened the door for him. As he stepped out, she said, "You didn't ask to stay with us." He turned. I know better now. She shut the door softly behind him and let herself feel something she hadn't in a long time. Hope. Cautiously stepping back inside, Kia's rental cabin was modest. It had heat that clicked on too loudly, a couch that creaked, and a coffee machine that blinked more than it brewed. But it was close, walking distance from Kala and Kyle. And that's why he chose it. He didn't decorate, didn't post, didn't tell anyone where he was. Because this wasn't a gesture. It was a slow repair. He showed up the next morning, exactly at 7:55 a.m. Kyle opened the door before Kala could. "You're early." He grinned. "I'm right on time." Kyle ran to grab his shoes. Kala looked at Kia, her arms folded in her sweater sleeves. "You're really doing this?" "I am." She stepped aside. "Fine, you can walk him." Kia looked down. "Would you like to come?" "I've walked him enough," she said. "Let's see how you do when his glove falls off and he starts asking about dinosaurs." He smiled. Kyle ran back out, coat half-zipped, one glove already missing. Kala raised her eyebrows. Kia just nodded, noted. The walk was cold but quiet. Kyle talked the whole time, about frost patterns on mailboxes, about a kid named Tommy who said clouds were made of sugar, and about how he didn't like recess when the ground was crunchy. Kia didn't interrupt. He just listened. At the school gate, Kyle looked up. "Will you be here after class?" Kia crouched. "Do you want me to be?" Kyle nodded. "But you have to be early. The good swings go fast." Kia held out his hand. Kyle gave him a tiny fist bump before running in. Kia stood there until the bell rang, just watching. Kala saw them from her porch when they returned that afternoon. Kyle was holding a stick, explaining something animatedly. Kia nodded, even though it made no sense. When they reached the steps, Kyle burst inside, heading straight for the kitchen. Kala stayed at the door. Kia held up 2 fingers. 2 gloves returned. "He made me check." She stepped outside. "How was it?" "He knows the name of every cracked sidewalk on your block." "That sounds right." He looked down. "Thank you for letting me come. I didn't let you." "Kyle did." She paused, then added, "But you're not doing bad." That night, while Kyle colored quietly, Kia sat across from him, helping fold the paper corners of a rocket they were building. Kyle looked up suddenly. "Why didn't you come when I was a baby?" Kia stopped folding. Kala froze in the kitchen. Kyle didn't ask with anger, just curiosity. Kia sat back, took a breath. "I didn't know you were here." Kyle blinked. "You didn't hear me crying?" Kia's voice caught. "No." Kyle went quiet, then nodded once. "It's okay. I don't remember being little anyway." Kia looked down, then whispered, "But I'll remember everything from now on." Kala stepped out with water, pretending she hadn't heard, but her eyes met Kia's, and he didn't look away. The next 3 days, Kia walked Kyle to school, brought cinnamon muffins from a local bakery, and learned how to fix a pencil sharpener Kyle had broken but refused to throw away. He didn't bring gifts. He didn't talk about money. He just showed up. Every day. Every time. One evening, it snowed heavily. Kala was trying to shovel the porch when the wind picked up. Kia appeared from the side road, took the shovel from her hands, said nothing, cleared the steps while she held her coat closed. He didn't speak. Not until she said, "I was fine." "I know," she added. "But thank you." He nodded. "I'm not trying to replace what I missed." She looked at him. "I know." The next morning, when Kyle drew 3 stick figures in a row, one taller, one in the middle, and one holding both their hands, he didn't say what it meant. He didn't need to. Kala placed it on the fridge, and when Kia saw it that evening, he didn't comment. He just smiled and stayed a little longer. Ryan Vale stood in front of a makeup mirror in a midtown studio. Lights rimmed the glass, and a hairstylist tugged at her waves like she was preparing a queen. She wasn't nervous. She was furious. The networks had reached out, all of them, and she finally said, "Yes, time to take back the narrative," she told her manager. They want to believe some soft-spoken woman in a navy dress outplayed me. I've been quiet long enough. She wore cream, not gold, not red. She wanted softness, just enough to make people forget how sharp she'd been weeks ago. The interviewer smiled as cameras rolled. Ms. Vale, thank you for coming today. There's been a lot of speculation about your relationship with Keir Danforth. Ryan nodded, as if pained but composed. I never imagined I'd have to explain something so personal. And yet, Calavalen appeared at the gala with a child. Ryan cut in gently. I won't speak on her. I'll speak for myself. I've stood beside Keir through everything. Through pressure, through silence, through legacy talks. We planned a future, strategically. As adults. But what about the child, Kale? Ryan hesitated, then smiled. I love children. But no child should be used to unravel what was being built with integrity. The host raised a brow. So, you believe her appearance was intentional? I believe when someone reappears after years of absence. And coincidentally, during your third trimester, it's not always about justice. Sometimes it's about timing. Click. That moment was clipped and reposted 1,000 times before noon. Kala saw the interview on a muted screen at a hardware store. Kyle was with Keir across the street, picking out wooden pieces for a science project. The words at the bottom of the screen read, Rien. This wasn't about a child. It was about control. Kala didn't blink. She paid for the salt she needed, then stepped outside. Kyle waved at her from the sidewalk. Mom, he let me pick the drill. Kala smiled, because a child's joy doesn't pause for drama, and she refused to let it. That night, social media churned. Some defended Ryan, many didn't. But one comment, buried among thousands, stood out. The one who talks less always seems to know more. Keir didn't respond publicly, not even when tabloids spun the situation like a triangle. He didn't release a statement. He didn't attend the next press event. He didn't accept interviews. Instead, he emailed his team. Family is not a brand. Do not comment. Do not assist. Do not defend me. If anyone asks, tell them we don't speak about our children. We raise them. Kala's phone lit up with a message from Keir that evening. If the noise ever touches Kyle, I'll handle it. Fully, privately, permanently. She stared at the screen. Didn't respond. She didn't need to. Meanwhile, Ryan doubled down. She posted a photo of her sonogram with a caption, When you carry legacy in silence, others will try to speak over it. But this is truth. The comments split. Some sided with her. Others compared the image to the now famous candid of Kala and Kyle walking out of the gala. Side by side, the contrast wasn't in lighting. It was in motive. One was polished. The other, real. Kala was shelving books when the woman with the tote bag approached. Mid-30s. Harmless face. Soft-spoken. Hi, she said. I've seen you at Story Hour. Your son is Kyle, right? Kala nodded cautiously. Can I help you? The woman pulled out a recorder. I'm with a digital profile series, human stories, mostly moms. I'd love to feature yours. Kala stiffened. You came through the side entrance? The woman looked embarrassed. I wanted it to feel casual. No pressure. Kala gently pushed the cart between them. We don't do interviews. We read stories here. I understand, the woman said, but your silence is powerful. People are listening. You could own the narrative. Kala stared at her, then said evenly, I don't need to own what already belongs to me. The woman tried once more. Would you like a card? Kala didn't take it. Instead, she nodded toward the exit. Story Hour ends at 4. You can sit in the back, but don't ask again. And that was it. The article never published, but Kala's words, shared secondhand by another parent who overheard, circulated online within 2 days. They weren't quoted in full, but the sentiment spread fast. She said she didn't need to defend anything. She already lived it. It hit differently. People remembered how she carried herself at the gala, how she never flinched during Ryan's attacks. how she never responded at all. And yet, she seemed to win. Back in New York, Keir received a notification on his phone from the foundation. "Board, should we prepare a family segment for the upcoming panel?" He replied instantly. No public narratives, no photo ops, just the work. Then he made a quiet call to his driver and arranged something he hadn't done in years. A week later, Keir walked into a downtown children's center his company quietly funded, one that Calla had once helped design under a ghost consultant title back when she refused credit. He brought no camera crew, only Kyle. The staff snapped a few pictures for internal updates. One made it to the web, unintentionally. Keir kneeling beside Kyle, handing him a hammer while building a toy bookshelf for the reading room. He wasn't dressed like a CEO. He was in a sweater, on the floor, sleeves rolled, helping his son screw in bolts. No press release, no quotes, just a caption. "Mr. Danforth came today with his son." No announcement, no team, just two hands and a quiet presence. Ryan saw the photo. She posted an indirect quote hours later. Sometimes the ones who stay quiet are hiding the most. But this time, the comments didn't side with her. One reply went viral. Or they're finally realizing that being loud never built anything worth keeping. Calla saw the photo too. She didn't like it, didn't share it. But that night, when Kyle handed her a drawing of a bookshelf with stick figures on the floor building it together, she paused. "Was that today?" she asked. Kyle nodded. "Dad let me hold the drill, but only when he was watching." She smiled softly. "That's what good dads do." Kyle blinked. Did he used to be bad? Calla hesitated, then bent to his eye level. "He used to be lost." Kyle shrugged. "He's not now," and walked away, humming. The next day, Calla received a package. No note, just one thing inside. A leather-bound notebook. Inside the front cover. "For your silence and your strength. I finally understand both. Keir." She closed it, didn't cry, didn't text him. But the next time he knocked, she opened the door a little wider. And this time she asked, "Staying for dinner?" Dinner was simple: roasted vegetables, rice, and baked chicken. Kyle talked through most of it, proudly announcing that he helped rinse the carrots and nearly burned his fingers when he tried to touch the oven. Keir laughed once, genuinely, and Calla watched him quietly. She hadn't invited him out of impulse. It was intentional, to see if he knew how to sit in something normal, not performative, not prepared, just real. And so far, he did. He helped wash dishes without being asked, took his shoes off at the door, cleared the table before Kyle even finished the last spoonful. He didn't look like a guest anymore. He looked present. After Kyle went to bed, Keir lingered in the doorway. Calla folded a kitchen towel slowly, waiting. He finally asked, "Can I stay for bedtime stories next time?" She glanced up. "That depends. On what? On whether you still show up after." He nodded once. "Fair." She watched him step outside, but before he could walk away, she said, "You're adjusting to silence well." He turned. "I'm learning from the expert." She smiled for the first time and closed the door behind him. 2 nights later, it snowed again. Keir arrived early and brought Kyle a notebook with small square grids. "What's this?" Kyle asked. "For your map designs," Keir said, "so your roads don't curve by accident." Kyle grinned. "Smart." They sat together for an hour, sketching sidewalks, labeling street names, naming pretend libraries. At one point, Kyle said, "I think I want to be a city builder when I grow up." Keir smiled. "I think you already are." Calla stood in the kitchen doorway, wiping her hands with a towel, listening. This was what she feared at first, that he'd try to buy Kyle's affection. But there were no toys, no lavish gifts, just graph paper and time. That was harder to fake. The next day, Calla walked into the kitchen to find Kyle scribbling furiously on one of the grid pages. "What are you making?" she asked. "An empire." She laughed. "You've been hanging out with your father too much." Kyle didn't look up. "Do I have his last name?" Calla stilled. No, she said. You have mine. He looked up. How come? She chose her words carefully. Because when you were born, I didn't know where he was. And I didn't want you to carry a name that didn't carry you first. Kyle nodded. Do I get to choose? She paused. Eventually. When you're older, he tilted his head. What if I want both? Kala met his eyes. Then we talk about that. That evening, she told Keir. His expression didn't shift. He asked. He said. She nodded. About the name. About what it means. Keir looked away. I never thought I'd hear that from him. You're hearing it now, Kala said. So decide how you want to explain what being a Danforth really means. Keir's jaw tightened. Because he doesn't care about money, Keir, she added. He cares about meaning. He nodded slowly. Then said, Then I better give him one worth carrying. The event wasn't public. It wasn't grand. Just a quiet gathering hosted by the Danforth Foundation at a children's outreach center downtown. No media, no donors. Just the staff, volunteers, and a few families whose kids had benefited from recent reading programs. Keir didn't bring a speech. He didn't bring a date. He brought Kyle. They walked in side by side, hand in hand, both wearing grey sweaters. Kyle's a size too big, Keir's just right. Kala had agreed to let him go. She trusted Keir now. Not with everything, but with enough. Kyle clung to Keir's side at first. The room was new. The people were unfamiliar. But when one of the staff offered him a small bag of Legos and pointed to a rug where other kids were building towers, he looked up at his father. Keir kneeled and whispered, You can go if you want. I'll be right here. Kyle studied him, then handed over his crumpled napkin with chocolate crumbs, like it was a contract. Keir folded it, put it in his pocket, and watched his son run to the rug. Rulven Grant was there. He approached Keir with a clipboard and a nod. We can do a photo for the Foundation's internal bulletin. Would make a good face for the reading initiative. Keir shook his head. Not this time. No quotes? No name drop? Keir looked over at Kyle, who was now trying to balance 3 Lego towers on top of one another. No. Understood, Rulven replied. I'll tell them it's off limits. Later that evening, Keir walked Kyle home. It was dark, but the streets were still safe, soft light pooling from lampposts onto the snow. Kyle skipped a little, swinging his arms. Did you build buildings when you were a kid? He asked. Nope. I built numbers. That sounds boring. Keir laughed. It kind of was. I think I like this kind of work more. What kind? Making things with other people. Keir nodded. That's the best kind. They walked the rest of the way in silence. Kala opened the door when they arrived. Kyle rushed in, kicking snow off his boots, excited. I built the tallest tower and it didn't even fall. Keir watched her take in the glow on her son's face. Then she met Keir's eyes. How was it? He smiled. He made more impact in 1 hour than I did in 10 years. She nodded once, then said, He slept on the name question last night. Keir waited. He said, He still wants mine. Keir didn't flinch. Then that's what he should keep. Kala raised an eyebrow. No argument? No, just truth. She looked at him more closely. You're letting go of the name? He shook his head gently. No, I'm finally not letting it decide everything. Later that night, Kala found the crumpled napkin in Kyle's coat pocket. She turned it over and saw Keir had written one line on the inside. Legacy isn't what I leave behind, it's who I show up for now. She folded it again, placed it in a drawer, and quietly let herself start to believe. This version of him might actually stay. The picture wasn't meant to go public, not on a blog, not on a trending post, not tagged under Danforth Legacy. It was meant to be private. Rulven Grant had promised, but someone, maybe a volunteer, maybe a well-meaning intern, uploaded the photo to the Foundation's internal server. From there, it took less than an hour. The photo was simple. Keir, kneeling on the floor of the outreach center. Kyle, mid-laugh, throwing a Lego brick in the air. Both of them in matching grey sweaters. No staged backdrop, no staged lighting. Just a boy and a father, unaware, and powerful for all the wrong reasons. Calla saw it on her phone first, sent by Marlene with no caption. She stared at it, then clicked the comments. Wait, is that Keir Danforth's secret kid? That's not Ryan's son. Where's the announcement? Wow, she looks nothing like his fiancée. I thought they were going for legacy? What's this? And then the most dangerous one. Sources say Danforth was married before Ryan. No official record, just whispers. Calla sat still at her kitchen table. She didn't react, didn't cry, didn't throw her phone. Kyle was in the next room, humming to himself, feet swinging under the couch as he watched cartoons. The war wasn't at her door, but the fire was spreading. At the Danforth residence, Ryan held her phone like a weapon. She was sitting in Keir's lounge, his assistant gone for the evening. Her coat draped over the arm of the couch like it owned the space. This picture is everywhere, she said sharply. Why weren't you warned? Keir stood at the window watching dusk fall over the city. I wasn't. She crossed her arms. It's a PR nightmare. There's no narrative, no prepared messaging. You look attached. I am, he said calmly. To that woman's child. To my son. She froze. What? Keir turned. I'm not denying it anymore. That's not how we planned to release this. No, that's how you planned to hide it. Ryan's voice rose. Keir, do you know what this costs you? The Danforth name, the chairman votes, the lineage story I've been building for 2 years. He cut in, voice low. Then rewrite the story. Ryan's lip curled. You think a heartfelt pivot will undo the damage? He's not branded. He's not yours legally. She could disappear with him. She won't. You sure? Keir stared her down. Because I'd go with them. Ryan's face cracked for a moment. Then she straightened. So that's it? He didn't answer. She took a breath, smoothed her blouse, picked up her coat. This'll be in page 6 by midnight. When it hits, don't come running. She walked out. Keir didn't stop her. The next morning, the Danforth family email thread blew up. Why wasn't the board informed? Is this child listed under any trust umbrella? What is Ryan's current response? Do we have confirmation of paternity? Please advise on immediate optics control. Keir typed one reply. There will be no statement. The child is mine. I'm not hiding him. He clicked send, then turned off the thread notifications. At Calla's place, she heard the knock around 8:15 a.m. Kyle was brushing his teeth. She opened the door. Keir stood there. No coat, no security, just a paper in his hand. I filed the petition, he said. She looked at the form. Joint parental recognition, State of New York. His name beside hers, not beneath it. Beside. I need your signature, he said. If you still trust me with him. Calla studied him, not his words, his eyes. Then she took the pen from his hand and signed. The 38th floor of Danforth Global wasn't meant for women like Calla. The corridor was all marble silence and understated power, glass walls, titanium, nameplates, and 4 silent men in suits posted at key junctions. This floor hosted the meetings that shaped more than stocks. It shaped legacies, and Ryan Danforth made sure her entrance was timed for maximum effect. 10:58 a.m. 2 minutes before the full board was expected, 1 minute before Keir could possibly intervene. She strode in with sharp heels and sharper eyes. A navy silk pantsuit hugged her figure, subtle gold details catching light as she moved. In her hand, a slim folder of pre-printed statements and exit strategy slides. Her assistant trailed behind her, placing copies at each seat around the custom-made oval table. The men, 12 of them, all shareholders or legacy voices, lifted their eyes but said nothing. Ryan didn't need their words. She had the floor. As some of you may have seen, she began crisply, a photo surfaced last night involving my fiancé and an unrecognized child. There's been no public statement, by design, But I wanted to personally assure this board that I have taken necessary steps to ensure stability, containment, and... The double doors opened. Heads turned. She stopped mid-sentence. Calla. She walked in slowly. Poised. Plain black dress. No makeup. No press polish. No assistant. No folder. Just her. And her son. Kyle held her hand tightly, wearing the same soft grey sweater from the photo. His curls were freshly done, his little shoes clean, but his presence was louder than any press release. Gasps were muffled behind cleared throats. Rienne's smile twitched. I wasn't aware we were accepting uninvited guests to this. Actually, Kier's voice cut through as he entered behind them. This is my meeting. He stepped beside Calla and placed his hand gently on Kyle's shoulder. The room froze, not because of what they saw, but because of what it confirmed. Kier looked around the room once, then down at his son. Kyle, these are some of the people Daddy works with. You okay? Kyle nodded shyly. Rienne's voice tightened. This is a violation of protocol, Kier. This isn't a family showcase. This is a name, Calla said quietly. Rienne's eyes snapped to her. Calla reached into her purse and pulled out a single envelope. She placed it on the table, right in front of the chairman. Your legacy board wants proof? Here it is. DNA, court-filed. Signed last night. She looked at Rienne now. The Danforth name is already on him. You're the one out of place. The men around the table glanced at each other. Some leaned forward. One removed his glasses. The chairman spoke. We'll take a 10-minute recess to review the document. No, Kier said, firm. We don't need a recess, we need a correction. He turned to Rienne. For years you asked me to be silent, to hide this part of my life. You promised it was for legacy, for image, for strategy. But I realize now it was always for control. Rienne's mouth parted. Kier, this is my legacy, he continued, gesturing toward Kyle. Not the articles, not the optics. Him. And what about your brand? She snapped. What about the speech we're scheduled to give at Davos, the foundation gala next month? You're going to walk in with this? Calla's voice was calm. With his son, Rienne's temper cracked. He was mine first. That silence, it cut sharper than anything else. Even Kyle turned his head slowly, confused. The boardroom had no air left. Kier said nothing at first, but when he finally spoke, it was a blade. No, Rienne. I was yours on paper, out of guilt, out of pressure, but not in heart, not in truth. Rienne stepped back, her hands clenched at her sides. And I let it go on because I thought it was safer, because I thought I didn't deserve to choose love over legacy. But now I know. A man who abandons his child for image isn't building a legacy, he's erasing it. One of the elder board members cleared his throat. Mr. Danforth, if what this DNA file confirms is true, what does this mean for the foundation and your role? Calla stepped forward before Kier could answer. It means your foundation doesn't need a narrative. It needs a backbone, and you already have one. If you stop trying to hide the truth behind PR templates, another member murmured. She's got a point. Kier turned to the room. You asked for transparency. You have it. My son exists. He's not a secret. He's mine. If that costs me a title or a panel seat, fine. He took Kyle's hand, gently. But I'm not trading my son for applause again. A long silence followed. Then the chairman reached for the folder, removed the DNA document, and set it aside. He looked at Kier, then at Calla, then at the boy. Well, he said, voice neutral. Children tend to outlast headlines, and if this is who you stand beside now, we'll adjust. Rienne exhaled sharply, her control crumbling. You're all fools. This woman played you, played him. Calla looked at her once, then spoke softly. I didn't play anyone. I left quietly. You're the one who turned a mother and child into an inconvenience. Rienne stared at her. What exactly do you want, Calla? Calla tilted her head. I already have it. And she turned, her son's hand in hers, walking out of the boardroom she was never supposed to enter, leaving silence behind her. But not weakness, Power. Quiet. Earned. The next day, the blogs tried to twist the story. Some questioned a mystery woman. Some speculated about backdoor deals. One even claimed the boy might not be Kier's. But the post that went viral was different. It was a photo, same one as before, but with a new caption. This one from Kier's official account. Meet Kyle, my son, my legacy. No press needed. It trended for hours. But for once, Kala didn't read the comments. Because some stories don't need defense. Some stories speak for themselves. The Danforth Foundation boardroom had never held this much tension. Not during the pandemic grants, not even during Kier's controversial appointment. But today, the weight wasn't financial. It was personal. Ryan had set the table. 12 board members sat lined around the marble arc. 2 legal consultants were on standby. Rolvan Grant, their senior PR executive, stood by the window, face unreadable. A silent screen displayed the foundation's homepage. Still no press release. Still no clarification. Still no image removal. Ryan stood at the head of the table, her smile tight, hands folded like a hostess greeting guests to a funeral. "Thank you for coming early," she began. "I know the Foundation's mission is larger than any single scandal, but unfortunately, the media has pulled us into what they've called a legacy question." She tapped the keyboard. The now infamous photo of Kier and Kyle flicked onto the screen. Multiple gasps followed. "Is that real?" one board member asked. Ryan nodded. "It is." "This is the complication." Rolvan didn't speak. Ryan continued. "I want to be clear. We were not informed of this child's existence until this image surfaced. There are legal concerns, donor transparency, timeline discrepancies, questions about eligibility and image damage." A woman in glasses leaned forward. "Is it confirmed?" Ryan gestured to the chair beside her. Kier wasn't in it. One of the male trustees raised a brow. "Where is Kier?" As if on cue, the doors opened. Kier walked in, alone, until Kala followed behind him. She didn't wear a power suit. She didn't carry a file. She wore a fitted deep green blouse and black slacks. Simple. Sharp. Calm. And beside her, Kyle walked in too, holding Kier's hand. A low, disbelieving murmur spread through the room. Ryan's expression didn't crack, but her grip on the laptop mouse did. Kier nodded politely at the board, then said, "I'll take the floor now." Ryan opened her mouth. He cut her off. "I understand this image raised questions. Allow me to answer them." He looked at Kala. She gave a slight nod. Kier turned back. "This is Kyle. My son." Silence. He let it settle. He is not a scandal. He is not a misstep. And he is not something to be hidden behind a screen. I failed to tell you about him because I didn't trust the room to separate legacy from humanity. Ryan's jaw tensed. "But I do now," Kier continued. "And I'd like to make this official." Kala stepped forward and placed a sealed envelope on the table. Inside, updated legal documents, DNA confirmation, custody status, a notarized parental acknowledgement. The oldest member of the board adjusted her glasses. "Why now?" Kala answered. "Because I didn't want our son dragged into strategy. He's not leverage, he's not a campaign. He's a child." Her voice didn't rise, but it carried. Ryan laughed dryly. "This isn't how we agreed to handle it." Kier met her gaze. "No. It's how I agreed to fix it. You're risking your entire reputation." He looked down at Kyle. "Then it's finally worth something." The PR exec stepped forward. "Kier, if we issue a formal statement, we can—" "No statement," Kier said. "No spin." He faced the board. "I won't build a foundation meant to protect children while hiding my own." Kala reached down and took Kyle's other hand. The moment landed like a shot of pure air in a room suffocating under politics. A younger board member nodded slowly, then another, then a third. Ryan, for once, had no rebuttal. Kier looked around. "If you have questions, ask me. Don't involve her. Don't involve him." Kyle squeezed his hand. Kier's voice softened. "Or better yet, come meet him." It wasn't a PR tactic. It wasn't a brand strategy. It was a father's offer. One by one, the room began to shift. The war of narratives was over. The truth had walked in on its own. And this time, it brought his son. Outside the boardroom, reporters buzzed like hornets. Ryan stormed out past them, ignoring every flash and microphone. Inside a black car, her phone vibrated. She picked up. "It's done," she said coldly. The voice on the other end, her father. "You were supposed to control this. He chose them." A pause. Then cut him loose. Ryan stared out the window. "I already did," but her voice cracked. For the first time in years, Ryan had no next move. And Keir? He wasn't hers to maneuver anymore. Kala hadn't planned on returning to the center that week. But Kyle asked, and when he asked to see the blue table with the triangle books, she realized. He remembered, so they went. The front desk staff, once polite but indifferent, stood when she walked in. Kala greeted them, nodding slightly. "Hi. We're just here to pick up some of Kyle's old books." No one questioned her now. No sideways glances. "No, you need clearance or that room is restricted." Not anymore. As they passed the main hallway, she saw a new poster on the wall. Danforth Family Forward Initiative. Real families. Real stories. Real change. And below it, a photo of Keir, holding Kyle. Not for PR, just for proof. Inside the center's main reading room, Kyle ran straight to the low wooden shelf and pulled out the same triangle-covered book he'd adored months ago, the one with stories from different countries. He hugged it like it missed him too. Kala crouched beside him. "You remember the animals in this one?" "Yeah," he nodded. "The tiger was sad but strong." She smiled. "You're good at remembering the strong ones." From behind them, a familiar voice said softly, "He takes after his mother." Kala turned. It was Roseanne. His tone wasn't stiff this time. It was careful. "You didn't come here for attention," he said. "But it found you anyway." Kala stood slowly. "I came because this place helped me." He looked at Kyle, now busy flipping pages. Then back at her. "We want to name the new reading wing, after someone who didn't just survive, but made space for someone smaller to grow." She blinked. "I didn't donate anything." "No," Roseanne said. "You gave something rarer. You gave truth, quiet truth, and it changed everything." Kyle looked up. "Can it be called the Tiger Room?" Roseanne chuckled. "It can now." Kala didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the DC skyline, she walked Kyle back through the courtyard. She didn't notice the woman watching. Didn't clock the silent camera tucked under a long coat. Didn't realize the click that followed them from behind the trees. Not until hours later, when her phone buzzed with a name she didn't recognize. A reporter. Kala froze. The message was short. "We know who you are. Off-record coffee? Or full article?" She didn't reply. Instead, she texted one person. "Keir." 3 words. "We have a leak." Within 10 minutes, her phone rang. He didn't start with panic. He started with, "Are you somewhere safe?" "Yes." "Kyle?" "Reading." "Doesn't know." "Don't tell him," Keir said. "Let's handle this without headlines." She hesitated. "What if I already did?" "By walking into that boardroom, I made it real. You made it right," Keir said quietly. "But they'll come for him. Then they'll have to go through me." She didn't realize it until that moment, but she believed him now. Not because of a vow, not because of shared blood, but because of everything he risked to stand beside her in that room. The leak was real, but so was what they had now. And this time, she wouldn't run. The article dropped that night, but it wasn't what they expected. The title read, not the mistress, not the scandal, the woman who changed the air. It wasn't an exposé. It was a reckoning. The journalist had done her digging. But instead of dragging Kala, she wrote the truth. The quiet kind. A former outreach center mother. A boy with no label. A father who finally chose legacy over optics. Public comments were split, but one held the most likes. This wasn't a fall from grace. This was what grace actually looks like. Kala sat at the kitchen table hours later, Kyle asleep, the article open in front of her. Keir sent no follow-up, no demand for edits, no legal team. Only one message. If you ever feel unsafe, you come to me. She didn't reply with words. She replied with an address. The reading room, Friday, 4 p.m. She stood in front of the bookshelf when he walked in. He didn't wear his usual suit, just a dark sweater and jeans, a look that said he left the boardroom behind on purpose. He stepped closer. You picked a time. She turned slightly. Kyle won't be here. I didn't come for him. Kala held his gaze. Then why? He didn't smile, didn't flirt. He answered with truth. Because I haven't been the kind of man who deserved what you gave me, but I'd like to try now. Kala didn't speak for a moment. She looked at the shelf, at the tiger book, then finally at him. Then don't vow it. He waited. She stepped closer. Just keep showing up. No headlines, no speeches. Just this. His voice dropped. I can do that. And this time, when he reached for her hand, she let him. No deals, no escape plans. Just two people who finally understood. Power was nothing if it cost you the people who knew your real name before you ever had a title. The real vow wasn't loud. It didn't need applause. It just needed to be kept. Quietly. Every day. If you believe true strength is choosing what's right, even when it costs you everything. If you believe real power means protecting the people who never asked for spotlights. And if you believe love, real love, requires no strategy, only courage, like, share, comment. Subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more quiet justice tales, where the powerful fall and the quiet ones rise.